growing up in Bombay actually got me into entrepreneurship. So I grew up in this city and I suffered from asthma. The principal laughs at me in front of the whole school and says you're living in the wrong country. That feeling was a feeling of I'm different from everybody else, and why am I different? Why am I the guy who at a school camp has to carry my pillow and blanket from home? Am I the guy who can't go for sleepovers to any friends' houses because of my asthma? And that limiting factor is what made me say, hey, I want to do something about it. It's mentality, right? That winner's mentality, that failing in public, that rising up with back against the wall, that dealing with pressure. But in that environment, I realized my only moat is hard work. I don't have the talent. I'm not Yuvraj Singh. I'm Pujara.
Welcome, guys. Welcome to our podcast, Building in India. Today, we actually have a guest who doesn't need any introduction. The entire India knows him.
And he's also a friend.
And a fellow cricket fan. Over to you, Arjun.
Well, pleasure to be on this podcast. I think it's a long time planning. I have dragged you guys from Bangalore to come to my city because I insisted we record this in my city. I think growing up in Bombay actually got me into entrepreneurship. So I grew up in this city and I suffered from asthma. 1 in 7 kids in Bombay at that time were suffering from asthma. So I suffered from asthma. I grew up with juvenile bronchitis. I love cricket. I talk about cricket a lot. And when I was 7, my granddad moved me off the cricket field. I was coaching at Hindu Gymkhana with Praveen sir, and my dada said there's too much dust on this cricket field. We don't have grassy wickets in Bombay. We just have mud and dust and no grass and all of that, right? So my dada moved me off the cricket field and forced me to play golf and squash. And think about a 7-year-old with a hand-eye coordination problem. At least in a cricket match, you can be one of the fielders and get lost in the crowd. When you're playing golf, it's just you and that golf ball at 7 years old that's not getting hit, right? So I think it sucked for me that I couldn't play cricket and football, or all my friends could. It sucked for me that I couldn't have Coke, Limca, Fanta, Sprite, which, by the way, I'm thankful that I didn't grow up having. And so I have no taste for, and so I don't drink any of that anymore.
Look at me, bro. But yeah.
And I didn't have ice cream till I was 13 years old because of asthma. And so that asthma actually, and getting rid of that asthma, getting cured of that asthma, starting to play cricket again, becoming captain of my school cricket team, made me believe that this science of Ayurveda, which is in my family and has been for a long period of time, has some value. And that was the seeds of sowing entrepreneurship in me.
So did you always feel left behind because you had asthma and you had
Think
to get out
about
of
a
it?
kid who is chubby because I had a lot of...
I can't imagine you being chubby.
And by the way, maybe I'm making an excuse for myself, but I grew up with a lot of steroids and all of that because of my asthma. So I was chubby and I was quite made fun of a lot. And in the B-rolls, we can show the photo of me from the 8th grade. You're going for a school camp, and then in the assembly where everybody is there, the principal of the school asks, before this camp, I just want to ask, does anyone have any allergies? And I put up my hand and I said, dust. And the principal laughs at me in front of the whole school and says, you're living in the wrong country. Right? So that feeling was a feeling of I'm different from everybody else, and why am I different? Why am I the guy who at a school camp has to carry my pillow and blanket from home? Am I the guy who can't go for sleepovers to any friends' houses because of my asthma? And that limiting factor is what made me say, hey, I want to do something about this.
But especially as a kid, it must have been very difficult, right?
Very hard.
As an adult, you can still accept it. But as a kid...
Even as an adult, you feel something. Right? So as a kid, and people make fun and people say things and, all of that stuff. Right?
So that's like the internal fire that always pushed you, that you can test the boundaries. That's why some part of your love for sports also comes from that, right?
I would say a love for sport was always there. Love for physical fitness is, of course, I never want to go back to that. But also when I was 14, 15, cured of asthma, I broke my hand while playing football, and it was a very bad injury here.
You too?
Here, this one.
Same as me.
Yeah, big one here. And that rod is still in. But when I got that injury, it was really bad, right? So I was on bed rest and struggling and all of that. And for some reason, my appetite went away. So I lost like 7-8 kilos. And the girl who I liked for a very long time finally said that she liked me back, and I got my first girlfriend at age 15. And that is when I said, I'm never putting on weight again in my life.
And it was at Brown that you started running as well, right?
So Brown, I started running.
Was reading a post.
Yeah, interesting story about running. So I had started doing a little bit of ellipticals and stuff in my summer before college because my dad had an elliptical machine at home. So I would just do that machine. And then I started going to the gym at Brown and I didn't know how to lift weights and all. And we go to the US, small Indian dude trying to lift like 2 kg, 4 kg dumbbells and all. You get a bit embarrassed, right? Like,
What is this guy trying to do?
so, and everyone there knows what to do in the gym. Right? But I didn't know anything. So eventually I said, okay, this treadmill thing, I can do as good as them, right? So I started doing this treadmill thing. And I was running 5Ks on the treadmill. And then this one girl in our hallway, she was in the track team at Brown. And one night she was like, hey, like, would you like to come for a run? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come for a run. But I told her, I'm like, look, I do only 5K on the treadmill, so maybe like 3-4K. And she's like, yeah, we'll do 3-4K, like it's fine, whatever. And then we just went running and I was like panting through the whole run. She's like, no, we're just doing 3-4K. And at that time, you didn't run with your phone and all, right? Your phone didn't have so much capability. So I was running with the iPod Nano, that small little iPod. And she was tracking the run on some GPS watch, Garmin I didn't have any of that. And so eventually we ran that day and I struggled, but eventually we made to 10K.
Wow.
She didn't tell me we were doing 10K because she told me I'd have stopped. But I made it to 10K. And then I said, I love this. If I can do 10K, I can.
Thank God she didn't ask you about allergies before the run,
She
right?
didn't ask me about allergies, but that run made me feel like, oh, if I can do 10, I can do 12, 15.
Nice.
And then I ran my first marathon. Actually, the month before I graduated from college, I ran my first half marathon in Providence.
Sweet. No, the reason I asked you about running is that's a very similar trait to what most founders should aspire to have, right? Because it's you got to push yourself. But sometimes you want to give up. But that persistence, a lot of people who are founders, especially on our podcast, talk about patience, pushing that extra mile, the extra half a kilometers. And then
I think every founder should watch, if not play, watch as many sports documentaries as possible. One, because it's great fun and we have access to content now that we never had growing up, right?
Exactly.
And the quality of content is just amazing, like the kind of stuff you can watch. But more than that, it's mentality, right? Like if you watch that documentary on Netflix, The Last Dance, and you see that flu game that Michael Jordan played with like 100 or 101 fever.
Right, yeah.
And his mentality to be able to train his mind to go and win that game, that winner's mentality, that failing in public, that rising up with back against the wall, that dealing with pressure. See, if you think about it, right? Other than restaurants, all other businesses, your failure and success is private. Now, you don't know if I'm doing well or not with my fund. I can tell you I'm doing well. But you can't validate it for me. You're not going to go to ROC and track the records of every company of mine and see if they're doing well.
Restaurants and retail. Retail, you can still say no to some extent.
Apart from, retail, you can still say, oh, it's...
But if you're at scale, you might not be able to say.
Retail, you can say off-peak hours. This is okay. Restaurant, you cannot lie also of off-peak. Everybody knows what peak and off-peak is. You can say seasonal business in retail. In restaurant, it's peak is peak. Friday night, if you're empty, you are done, boss. You're like, it's over, right? So, actually, Viraj Bell of Viva told me this. He was like, the restaurant business is a naked business. Everybody knows whether they're doing well or badly. You know, today I feel like in the Instagram generation, the YouTube generation, the podcast generation, where you will cut this conversation to shorts and all of that, people want things much faster than they take, right? Like stuff takes time, right? Like everyone talks about, oh, minimalist, what an amazing story. It's an amazing story. And it's amazing that they reached 100 crore ARR in less than a year. But what people don't know and what Mohit talks about as well is there was 2.5 years of a failed previous personalized shampoo venture called Freewill that led them to figure out what minimalist was. So nothing is an overnight success. Nothing in this world is an overnight success.
Right.
So what did you decide to do after Brown? And what got you to that decision?
Yeah. Why did you come back to India? Like, what was going through your head?
Actually, for me, there was not even a conversation about staying in the US. It was a very left field decision again at that time because I'm thinking about 2013, scam after scam, exchange rate at its worst, global confidence towards India is at its lowest. But I just knew that if I want to build my life in India long term, and if I do want to do that, and you guys know that like life, business, structure, jugaad, environment, hustle, and business in India is business in India.
Yeah.
And nothing of that email reading, text message, conversation, it will reach on time. If you mean 9 a.m., you mean 9 a.m. from the US would be relevant here. And so what's the point of going 4 years undergrad in the US, then doing 3 years work there, then 2 years MBA and coming back 10 years later as an NRI?
Hmm.
Like, because Pushkar is so used to the island life, he struggles when he sees the metro construction in Mumbai. I'm kidding. But like,
Pushkar is so used to the tearful life or the island. He chooses which one he prefers contextually.
Silent life. So no, but when you went to US like for your undergrad, you always knew you would come back.
I always knew I would come back. And I think my time there cemented that decision even further. Because I loved it. Okay, so best
What was the best part of studying at Cornell?
Brown.
Brown.
That was a trick question. Right?
I didn't forget my university.
He still asked you a trick question, Arjun.
Yeah, you're smart.
So I think the best part about my time in college was the exposure.
Hmm.
Look, I spent time with people from all over the world.
But coming back to your journey, so you and Brown, not Cornell, you decide to come back. At that time, what was going through your head that you want to come back and take over your granddad's business, or you thought,
Oh, you thought for a while.
I got a job in private equity. I worked at L Carrington
in Bombay?
in Mumbai. I was an intern and then I got a full-time job. But I got a good scan of the consumer landscape in India, of what was happening in the consumption story. I met 150 entrepreneurs doing more than 100 crores across cars, bikes, fashion, retail, apparel, wine, spirits, watches, jewelry.
And then when did you go back to your legacy business, granddad's business?
I-
What went through your head?
My dada passed. Then when he passed, I remember I made him a promise to do something. Then I quit my job at 25 and I said, I'm going to do this.
Hmm.
And that was because you felt you had some amount of legacy that you wanted to take forward and certain amount of skills pedigree that you had developed post education, right, in your job.
I think it was more taking forward legacy. I didn't have any skills. I didn't think I had any
No,
skills.
but you worked in private equity, you understood the consumer space.
I would argue otherwise, other than being able to do Excel sheets and connect with people, there are very few skills I could take from private equity into the entrepreneurship world, honestly.
Especially in very early stages.
Very
You're mostly
You
crunching
should
it
be
up.
talking to the ex-banker.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I want an introduction to social to sell my hangover product there. What in private equity, other than the connect to the founder, could help me?
Hmm.
And I didn't have that connect. I had to ask someone to make that connect for me.
And then when you decide that, hey, let's sell it and do something else,
We didn't decide. We got an offer
Hmm.
at the height of the business scale, peak of COVID, etc. All of that. The offer seemed fair, and I didn't believe what I see today, which is brands could do multiple 100 crores online. I didn't know that was possible.
You thought you had sort of hit a plateau.
Yeah, and so I think those two reasons.
So do you regret selling so early?
No, because what people don't see is that we were the only game in town at that time. Today, you on Amazon, there are 50, 100
Yeah,
Ayurveda online.
so many.
Right? So I think competition is also, it's not, there are many more customers and much more propensity to buy online today, but there's also much more competition.
But for you, what do you think that was one thing that really worked for you as a company?
I think we were able to establish scale on our own website
Hmm.
in a market where everybody was doing marketplaces. And if you see the repeat propensity of Ayurveda,
Mhm.
you can see that having it on your own website allows you to re-engage the customer multiple
A lot.
times.
Yeah.
On a marketplace, you don't get the data.
Yeah.
So when you started selling online, you always thought that we would sell on our website, not on marketplace. That
We
was,
chose that because we wanted to control the customer journey.
is there any one book or could be multiple books that have really influenced you, your thought, made you the person you are?
Yeah, I think for me, I spoke about sports documentaries. I think those are things that I really enjoy. Recently, I've been reading this book, Daily Dad. It's 1 page a day on being a parent. They call it Daily Dad, but it's not just about dad, it's about parenting. 1 page a day. about being a better parent. So I'm really enjoying that. And it's complex thoughts and not just one school, various schools of parenting. So it's helping me on my new journey of being a parent.
Awesome. It has been wonderful having you on the podcast.
My pleasure.
Many, many thanks for taking your time. We know you are a superstar founder.
Always pleasure with you guys.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Arjun. And special shout out to our location partners, Beehive. You've seen the space.
What a place.
You know, Beehive in Bangalore. Now they're expanding to Bombay, but
Amazing location.
amazing location. And thanks a lot, guys. Thanks, Arjun. Thanks, Pushki, for being the Mr. Hyde to the Dr. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.